Welcome back everyone to another Steel Division replay cast, and this time we are going to have a 2v2 on Murder. And really the awesome thing about the Steel Division replay site is that it doesn't tell you who uploaded it, which is actually a pretty good advantage because you do not know who won. Usually people only upload their wins. Anyway, rant over. The replay was titled something like 2v2 highly skilled players, and then I saw that I saw the names of the players. On the access side, there's Eugen Please Nerf Rocketas, which is pretty funny, and Heil XXX. So you can tell these people are elite. So that's why I chose this replay over some others. On the allied side, we have LVA Delta playing as the 3rd Canadian Infantry, which I actually have never seen in a game before. So I will not know a lot about it. But indeed, this will be educational for me as well. And Mind Trap with the Guards Armored. On the opposing side, we're going to have a Panzer Layer player, XX Heil XXX. I mean, true to his name, he's going to go with the most German division out there. Maybe. And then the 3rd Fallschirmjäger out of Please Nerf Rockets. So it looks like Fallschirmjägers doing what they're doing best, getting a ton of probably really good infantry. I see a lot of experienced stars already on these OP blitzes. A couple of leader units are included along with MGs and recon, so it seems like Please Nerf Rockets has the infantry combined group also set up and well. Looks like he's going to have a pretty good infantry setup. I would also like him to get some light vehicles, even if of course this division doesn't really have the best light vehicles. The 3rd Fallschirmjäger, it would still be best to get a couple of vehicles just to support his troops in the fight. His friend is going to go with a couple of recon units just down the center, interestingly. And then on the right side, there's a Puma. Puma, very, very dangerous unit with that 10 AP. A couple of Panzer Grenadiers, it would seem, and a AT gun. What kind of AT gun? Looks like a Pak 50mm. On the enemy team, oh, a couple of Wasps coming in from the Canadians. Oh, those are very dangerous units. If they're they kind of let them get too close. Actually, this is very good for the Canadians because they're facing the Fallschirmjägers, which means they're not going to be facing a lot of long-range fire, a lot of long-range vehicle fire that could indeed hurt these Wasps before they get close to the infantry and burn them up. The town, well, not town, the little chateau is going to be captured by the Germans. Looks like the 234 is going to start to open up with its autocannon on some rifles. The rifles are going to duck for cover as quickly as possible. Looks like on the right side, though, the Guards Armored is going to be facing some pretty tough opposition, although this Orchard is definitely helping them out, shielding them from the fire of all these light vehicles that the Panzer Layer is bringing up. Flamethrowers actually coming out from Delta. Not really sure about that unit of flamethrowers. The 2-man flamethrower squad always doesn't seem to be that useful for me. And here come the Fallschirmjäger horde. A couple of Fallschirmjäger MG44s. Oh, here comes a sniper scout doing some decent suppression on that MG44. Of course, snipers counter MGs. That's pretty common knowledge, pretty common sense. In general, snipers are indeed pretty useful, especially when they manage to pin enemy units down with their fire. Although you always have to be watching out for them because they're only 2-man teams. There's a there's a Ram 2 on the left side for the Canadians, so he's gonna be wanting to destroy the armor with that. Interesting. It looks like he parries the Ram 2 with the Wasps, and then but he brought the Wasps somewhere else. Looks like he already lost one. Not really sure how it's possible. Oh no, it's here. Okay. So it looks like he's pairing the Wasp with the Ram, which is an interesting combination because the Ram has tons of armor and an AP gun, but no HE capabilities except a machine gun. So against the infantry, it's going to have to rely on something else, and a Wasp is pretty good for that. Guards Armored doing what they're doing best at bringing out those Cromwells as quickly as possible. The Puma would have been decently effective against the Cromwells in an open field scenario, but there's this Orchard, and so the Cromwells are just going to be able to rush through with the support of the infantry and the half-tracks, and also, of course, the leader. One big problem for the Germans right now on the right side for the Panzer Layer player is that he doesn't have any leader units, so he's getting kind of outclassed by his opponent in terms of morale and in terms of accuracy. But there goes the Puma doing a pretty good job taking out that Cromwell. Not the command one, though. The command one's still going to be causing some trouble. There goes the armed car, 222. Or, was that a 234 or a 222? Looks like a 234. So 234 going down, but the Puma getting panicked. Yeah, that's the problem when you don't have a leaner unit. The Puma is panicked, and now the Cromwell is going to be chasing through and trying to get the last finishing shot off. It's going to have a lot of line of sight, and there goes the Puma. Pretty important unit for the Panzerlehr goes down, and now they're going to have some pretty good... you're going to have some pretty not good situations due to this command Cromwell being still alive. There are 2 AT guns for XX Heil. He can bring up one to the trees here, getting into cover and perhaps even going on hold fire so that he could wait for the Cromwell to maybe expose its side armor, get a little bit closer to get a guaranteed hit, and try to destroy it with an ambush shot. That could be a decent move for him. The Wasps have managed to secure the outer line of the trees here, but here comes an artillery barrage? What was that explosion? Oh, yep, 210mm Schrimpwagen. Looks like it's one of those precision bombings. It's the precision barrage. It doesn't tell me from here. Yeah, I'm thinking that that's the precision barrage because it's firing one shell at a time. I'm not too big of a fan of those, but of course different players like different things. Right now it seems like the Allies have a bit of a decent foothold over the right side of the map, but they have this kind of bulge because the only unit that's here for the Guards Armored is this Recce. So they're kind of losing out on potential points. And oh, here comes Please Nerf Rockets' 210mm again from another one. So he's investing quite heavily on artillery. Wants to absolutely destroy anything that's in this forest so that he can advance with his infantry over here. He does have leaders, indeed, so he's not making the same mistake as his ally, but he's still getting destroyed by these scouts. The sniper is definitely proving to be a big annoyance and making all of his units retreat very quickly. Here comes the Wasp, absolutely torching these Fallschirmjägers and allowing these rifles to advance against these relatively superior opponents, quite unscathed. There's also some stormtroopers on the field for these Canadians, and the stormtroopers can be fairly okay at close range, especially because they do have that satchel charge for the TNT that can destroy enemy vehicles, and especially very, very effective against enemy units in buildings, which on this map isn't going to be the most important thing, but it's always nice. And it looks like the artillery barrage does destroy one of the flamethrowers, and also the stormtroopers taking huge damage from that bombardment. In the meantime, on the right side, it seems like the Panzerlehr has kind of managed to recover, and the thing about the Panzerlehr is that it's one of the divisions that most definitely scales really hard in the phases B and C. But before that, it's in trouble. So once Phase B hits, the Panzerlehr is going to be much, much stronger than it is in Phase A, and once it hits Phase C, it is going to be much, much stronger than in Phase B. That's, oh, it may seem like common sense, but I don't think these Fallschirmjägers are going to have an easy time here. It may not seem like common sense, but the other divisions that are supposed to be really good in Phase C usually can hold their own in Phase A through various means. Whereas, yeah, for example, even the Guards Armored. The Guards Armored pretty good in Phase C, but they're also fairly okay in Phase A. They can get out a lot of Cromwells, they can get out a lot of infantry, and especially combining all of that against a weaker division in Phase A, they can appear to be quite strong. So, the longer the game goes, the more advantage will be going to the German side of things. Wasp right now doing some really good work, incredibly ballsy play, coming in and just brazenly walking up to the secondary forest here. Please Nerf Rockets is continuing to plump down artillery barrages. This one looks to be very, very dangerous on a lot of units that are kind of clumped up. These two units are outside of the nominal targeting range, but they might get hit anyway. Looks like a couple of units surrendering due to partially the artillery barrage. And the Wasp is trying to get some spots on these enemy infantry. But looks like this Wasp is going to go down from a Panzerfaust from these Fallschirmjägers. I'm guessing that it's not going to be able to escape. Here comes the flames, but Panzerfaust comes in, panics it, almost, and the second one is probably going to finish it off. Unless the Wasp can just wash these Fallschirmjägers into fire. And it prevents its own destruction, but it's kind of confused, and then the Fallschirmjägers are coming in, and then there's a Fallschirmjäger leader coming in as well from the right side. He also has a... Oh, actually, he has a magnetic mine, so he doesn't have the range to take out the Wasp from there, and he's going to allow the Wasp to torch his own, the men under his command, and, well, it's going to live. There's a couple of, looks like, small AT guns, 37 mils. Wait, what? No. What's that? I do not know what that is, actually. But yes, whatever that is, it's an AT weapon and it's coming through. Oh yeah, oh, it's a Raketenwerfer, right. So Raketenwerfer's firing on the Wasp. There goes the Wasp. Very, very good. Raketenwerfer does have 20 AP, which is quite a lot, and a 500 range. So, not the biggest type. And this is actually an LG-40. Oh, so that's the airborne anti-tank gun. Okay, never mind. Yeah, that did not look like a Raketenwerfer. That's why I was a little bit confused. Yeah, I should have remembered these, but I never seen them, so that's why I didn't know. Yeah, so they're gonna be fine against enemy light vehicles, which is, I guess, a decent buy from Mr. Eugen. In the meantime, it looks like the Canadians are kind of spreading themselves a little bit thin. So in general, they seem to be kind of losing in a lot of places because they're trying to defend everywhere. And of course, if you defend everywhere, you defend nowhere. And on the left side, that's definitely paying off for Gaijin Nerf rockets. Coming in with 2 Panzers, the Italian ones actually. Yep, so coming in with those tanks, not the best ones, but enough is enough for infantry support, especially because they have a fairly decent HE of 10. I'm fairly certain that that's a bug, it's supposed to be 1, but for now, the Panzer L6 is definitely very, very dangerous against infantry. And, well, there's pretty much nothing here. The flank has completely collapsed. To counter the 2 L6s, a Ram 2 was called in, along with a lot of infantry. A lot of infantry looks like it's going to be trying to regain a little bit of a foothold against the enemy in these forests. On the right side, in the meantime, the Panzer there has been doing a little bit better than before. There's still a couple of Cromwells around, but the command Cromwell has been taken out. There's a 25-pounder on the field for Mine Trap. 25-pounder are going to be pretty good at suppressing enemy anti-tank guns. It looks like that's the reason that that was called in. Those are German vehicles. And, well, it's still only one 25-pounder, though, so I'm not really too enthusiastic about its chances of actually supporting the front line for the Brits a lot. It's just going to be providing some support against singular support weapons from the Germans. In the meantime, rifles trying to come through the forest and doing some damage. However, oh, look at that. That's an impressive array of Fallschirmjägers. And with those MG42s, that's an insane amount of firepower coming in. And if they get closer, then there's going to be those FG42s with that amazing accuracy of 7. And those G43s also with the amazing accuracy of 7. The Fallschirmjägers is just such an immensely strong unit. It's one of the reasons why I liked playing Luftland even though a lot of people dislike them. And there goes the Ram. So unfortunately the Ram was pushed a little bit too close, and looks like the anti-tank recon from the Fallschirmjägers did do in for that unit. Unfortunately, the L6s are just absolutely demolishing the infantry and support weapons from the Canucks because they were a little bit too blobbed up. Thankfully, the 6-pounder was able to destroy that L6. The second one has hidden behind some trees, so it's going to be able to survive for a while. Here comes some more artillery from Eugen Please Nerf rockets, and that's been working out fairly decently for him, and now that's actually a railway artillery coming in. So the big guns are being called into play. That's absolutely something that I enjoy doing on these forested maps, coming in with tons of infantry and tons of artillery to support them. That is classic tactics, and they never really fail because it's simple and it's effective. That's something that Eugen Please Nerf rockets clearly kind of likes. And is this the 380 mil? Yep, looks like it. Actually kind of hitting some of his own guys, but destroying an MG and destroying an infantry squad as well for the Canucks. So not looking very good for Canada over here on the left side. Oh, look at that Blob getting completely pinned down by just a couple of enemy units. That's why you don't really blob in Steel Division. If these Fallschirmjägers were to come through and actually force these units to surrender, that would be such a huge coup de main for Eugene Please Nerf rockets. And in general, it seems like he's going to have a pretty solid control over the left side. So let's go back to the right side and see how that goes, because that's the area, the arena in which the Allies are going to be staking their own claim to this game. Looks like there's a couple of Cromwells just trying to charge through and take out the Pumas. Pumas in the open field, supported by a pack that's hidden in an orchard. I wonder if the pack is going to be brought up, because right now it doesn't really have the best line of sight. The line of sight would be much better here, but it looks like the Pumas are doing just fine by their own. Pumas, of course, can be very useful. They have a 5 accuracy, which is pretty good. The Cromwells also have 5, but the Pumas, of course, with their optics, have a bit of a better effective range, even though the range of the guns is actually the same. Here comes a Henschel 129 from Please Nerf rockets. That's interesting. Did he see an enemy tank? I don't see the Henschel having destroyed a tank. The Henschel 129, the Duck, is usually a plane that you call in whenever enemies are fielding enemy armor. That's kind of very dangerous. I would have gone for a Junkers 88 if I was him. Of course, he may not have a Junkers 88, but even a Focke-Wulf 190 bomber or a Me-109 bomber to take out the 25-pounder, actually. Looks like he's going to be trying to help out his ally. He's signaling Mr. Heil to attack. Because he's coming in with the artillery, and also he's bringing in a couple of Fallschirmjägers, one of them a recon, anti-tank recon, to take out enemy vehicles, to also support that attack, and that's going to be very devastating against all of these units. Look at that, instantly pinning down all of the units that were firing upon these Fallschirmjägers. Looks like the main problem is going to be coming in from those kangaroos. Oh, that's not good for the Fallschirmjägers. Kangaroos going to be providing a hail of fire from those machine guns, and also a pretty decent amount of armor to tank enemy shots coming in to support the infantry, but the infantry doesn't exist anymore because the barrage has completely annihilated the remainder of the British battle group that was stationed in the area. Actually, that's kind of a British-Canadian command battle group, so not a lot of good coming in for the Allies right now. Looks like on the left side, however, things are stabilizing a little bit, although Please Nerf rockets has just such an amazing position. Look at that. He has all of his units in exactly the correct places where they should be. They have perfect line of sight on the Brits, as they do, and the Brits have problematic lines of sight against some enemies. And oh, look at that. The M10 tank destroyer called in, or I guess it should be called the Wolverine because it's a Canadian one, called in, was destroyed, but unfortunately the Henschel might be going down to the Spitfire. Very good play with the Spitfire. No AA for Eugene Please Nerf rockets, and so the Spitfire is going to be able to take out that plane. Me-109 G6 R6, very dangerous plane, actually, deceptively dangerous, in fact, even with just one experienced star. It has a ton of both machine guns and cannons, with a fairly cheap price tag as well, and very good agility. Of course, the Spitfire is nothing to be laughed at by itself either, and so there's going to be a bit of a fight coming in, and the dogfight is going to be maybe ended by the second Spitfire. Second Spitfire tries to get into the tail of that Me-109, and the Me-109 is forced to fall back, and forced to fall back it does, into a bridge. Absolutely destroyed. Nothing it could have done there. That's kind of the problem with the airplanes, is that sometimes you have to invest into airplanes just thinking that the air support is going to be useful, but then you face someone who invests just a tiny bit more, and your investment goes and is wasted. Looks like a bit of a 25-pounder direct fire? I am thinking that this is a bit overzealous for Mine Trap. He's bringing in that 25-pounder way too close to the front line, I think. He's going to be trying to hide behind these woods. Interesting choice. I am not entirely sure why he would bring a 25-pounder so close. I would have brought it to here. It would have been able to fire on the enemy without problems anyway. Looks like, oh, very nice. 25-pounder goes down from a precision barrage, looks like by the 380mm. So pretty good use of that railway artillery. He's going to be running out of artillery call-in trucks. Sorry for that alarm. Bit of a car alarm going off right now. He's going to be running out of those soon, and oh, look at that. That's scary. 2 Fireflies and a Cromwell V coming in on the right side from Mine Trap. So that might not be too good for Heil if he does not respond well. There is a Befil's Tiger, so he's not going soft on the tanks either, but he has to be very careful because the Fireflies will eat that Tiger alive if they're given the chance. Of course, the Tiger will do the same to the Fireflies if he's given the chance. So both vehicles need to be very, very careful when facing each other. Of course, the advantage of the Befizz Tiger is that it's a command vehicle, and he's got 2 Pumas along with him for the ride. So he's going to have the optics support as well. Looks like the Fireflies first, destroying some enemy infantry in their rear. So the right side of the map kind of firmly belongs to the Allies now, because I think Heil has been focusing a little bit more on the center of the map, which hasn't really been paying off all too well, because it looks like Nerf Rockets has been doing much better than his ally. It looks like all the Panzer Grenadiers are being completely smothered by the firepower of the Anglo-Canadian coalition. And the 25-pounder, it cannot fire on anywhere, because it's just way too close to the front line. That's just a bit of a shame. It looks like, however, the left side of the map is definitely falling to the Germans. The Germans do have a bit of a advantage in terms of infantry there, and they're bringing in yet more reinforcements. One of them with a lot of experience stars, so 2 of them coming in. Double-vetted unit, and a lot of pioneers also coming through. Those are very dangerous because of those grenades that they do have. They have the bundle grenades, so at close range, that's not something that you want to face. It's got a 22 HE rating. Strong little unit. And looks like it's not Please Nerf Rockets, but it's Heil. Heil comes in with a Panzerwerfer, tries to burn up all the apples. Looks like they're going to have baked apples for dinner tonight in Britain. And of course, that's kind of okay, but the main problem with that Panzerwerfer purchase is that really the Guards Armored is staying true to its name. They're going with a lot of armor on the right side. And so the Panzerwerfer really could have been much more useful in the center rather than the right side of the map. That's just my thinking. Right now, masterful, pretty decent use of the Tiger and the Pumas actually being kept hidden from the enemy, which kind of lowers the risk of them being randomly killed. But at the same time, I think that Mindropped really has in his mind that those vehicles exist, because he's being very conservative with his own vehicle swarm as well. So I definitely like that play from both sides. It's kind of a, well, I'm gonna say a fleet and being strategy, even though it's not for fleets, it's for armor. So I guess it's a squadron and being, as in the enemy knows it's there, right? And it's there not for any purpose than to be there and make sure that the enemy expends resources to, of course, guard the area. And that's kind of a decent strategy. Of course, there's a lot of points being invested in these armored squadrons on the right side. So I would definitely think that these 2 players are kind of waiting for the correct time to attack, because they don't really want to risk their very, very expensive armor swarms. In the meantime, in the center, there was a bit of a penetration from 2 stormtroopers that actually just completely cut through the front line for the Germans, because there's nothing there. These artillery spotter units, I don't think, give terrain capture capabilities, just like recon units. And that actually was very, very effective, because it prompted Please Nerf Rockets to call in a time on target barrage. So not a lot of units there for that time on target to destroy, and that was kind of a bit of a waste of that very, very valuable resource for the Germans. In the meantime, in the center, there's still a bit of a fight, and it looks like the Allies are starting to kind of get back into this, because the Germans are lacking in AT. They're lacking in AT, and so these half-tracks, kangaroos, priest EVs, all these support vehicles that the Allies are bringing in are completely pinning down all the Fallschirmjägers. Looks like here comes the Panzerwerfer right into the heart of the Allied attack. Looks like the mortar rifles and the rifles are going to get completely pinned down, as well as the half-tracks getting pinned down. I think these Panzer Grenadiers could try to come in and fire the Panzerfaust, but no, they're going to activate the MGs and start to open up on these very, very close mortar rifles. Here comes a Focke-Wulf 590 G1 with the bombs. Looks like destroying 2 infantry units. Very good job from that plane. And in general, that Panzerwerfer barrage plus airstrike looks like kind of saving the day for the Germans. Here comes a ton of British units right into the breach, but exactly into the barrage of Please Nerf rockets. Also, the 25 pounder a little bit too close to that barrage for comfort. In the meantime, on the right side, the Fireflies and Cromwell Command, or no, that's actually a Sherman Command. So the Sherman Command and the Fireflies do have a bit of a breach that they're trying to exploit, but there's a King Tiger for the Germans. Needs to be very careful about its side armor facing the enemy. The King Tiger is going to be trying to repel the Allied units at range, which is of course pretty good. And here comes the Focke-Wulf 190G again, or I'm guessing it's another one, but at this time it's found out by 2 Spitfires, and the Spitfires will be getting that bird out of the sky. Unfortunately for the Allies, the barrage absolutely forced all of the units to retreat without mercy, and also destroyed a fair few as well. A couple of Foshin Pioneers being brought in by Nerf rockets to support. However, they're coming in a little bit too close to these Assault Pioneers in the Kangaroos. So the Kangaroos, very, very strong APCs with their machine guns and their armor, can absolutely force back these Pioneers without too much of a trouble. And oh, here comes a Tiger from Heil. So he's bringing out all the heavy tanks, bringing out King Tiger, Tiger, and Befehl's Tiger. So nothing to be laughed at for the Panzerlehr here. Panzerlehr gonna be strong in the late game no matter what, but he's going with a lot of normal Tiger, the Panzer VI Tiger, and not the King Tiger, which means that he's actually not gonna have the most well-armored forces around. The King Tiger, of course, very, very well armored, but the normal Tiger, it's got just slightly superior armor to that of a Sherman Firefly. So it needs to be used very, very carefully, because it's also a fair amount of points into one tank, especially the Befehl's Tiger, but also the Tiger E. Actually, oh wow, I've never noticed that these two were the same. Oh, so I guess it's like the Cromwell 6 and the Cromwell 5. Yeah, weird choice of balancing. Anyway, more artillery coming in, and yes, so if the Germans can use these tanks, well, the right side might be theirs, but there's always this kind of a sneaking suspicion that there's a ton of Allied armor, and indeed there is, so they need to be very careful. Very nice usage of the recon, though, from the Germans. So, Germans, at the start, were lacking in recon a bit, and they were definitely lacking in leader units. They're still kind of lacking in leader units, but they do have some around, and that's definitely been helping them out very greatly. That plus the fact that they're now having a bit of a superiority over the Allies in terms of recon, it just means that, well, why is this AEC just staying here? I think the AEC should have pushed up to the orchard. That just means that the Germans are going to have a bit of an advantage at long range, especially because they have those heavy tanks with the 88mm guns and the long range, the 1200-meter range. They're going to be able to use it very well. Oh, 6-pounder is a little bit too close to the Tiger for comfort, but the Tiger is also a little bit too close to the 6-pounder for comfort. Plows through that AT gun. There's a lot of German air on the field, and here comes the Focke-Wulf 190 bombing. Looks like these troops, or the priest, or didn't bomb anything. I don't know. Here comes Barkman, actually, a Panther A. So the Panther A, deceptively, is actually one of the best Panthers. I believe the Panther G is the worst one. Not entirely sure, but yes, the Panther A is really strong. It's got, of course, 17 AP customary, but also 14 frontal armor, which is not anything to be laughed at, and 3 machine guns. So very effective. So Heil coming in with all of the vehicles, he's just essentially saving up for big vehicles. Now, while that's definitely admirable from a Panzerlehr player, that's also kind of allowing the Allies to keep a little bit of extra map control on the right side. As you can see, the Germans have a superiority in terms of points. But that's because of the left side going so well, and because of the Fallschirmjägers just pushing through all of the forests in the map. So really, considering the right side of the map has been packed with so many heavy tanks. So there's a Königstiger H, there's 2 Tigers, and now there's a Panther A. That's like 480, right, for the 2 Tigers. Yes, 480 plus 380, so 160, 460, 660, 860, 940 points in heavy vehicles spent. With all that investment, you'd think that the right side would be a little bit more in the Germans' favor, but it's not. And that's kind of a big problem. Very nice Panzerwerfer, actually. Panicking the AC and the Sherman Firefly, and almost panicking that Cromwell. The Cromwell goes a little bit too much around the corner and gets shot at by a Tiger. Cromwell destroys a 50mm AT gun, but that was not good enough to offset the loss of that vehicle. So overall, a fairly decent usage of that artillery barrage. Speaking of artillery barrages, right now it looks like the time of artillery has gone out for Eugen Blizner's rockets, and that's kind of a shame because his artillery barrages, I think, were definitely a bit of an MVP for him. They allowed them to push up with those Fallschirmjägers very nicely, and that was a pretty much great usage of that ability that's kind of sometimes neglected. Now, there's a bit of a huge allied force here. Looks like 5 squads actually. No, just 4 squads of mortar rifles, plus their transport half-tracks, just waiting beyond these trees. And they're waiting beyond the trees instead of on the trees because they're kind of scared of what's on the other side, and rightfully so. There's a bit of a Tiger here, and the Tiger would definitely be able to do a lot of damage. Air war is still going on, none of the 2 sides getting too much ahead of each other, but the Spitfires might destroy the Henschel. Duck might be able to escape because these Spitfires are almost out of fuel, and they have to retreat. Very lucky. Look at that. He's got smoke coming out of his everything. He's probably got holes all over, and he's going to be... Oh, look at that. Focke-Wulf 190 coming in and destroying one of the Spitfires as well. So the Hunter becomes the hunted, and that was very unfortunate. None of the 2 sides investing heavily into AA. It looks like just a Tripolson on a CMP truck for the Brits, and pretty much nothing for the Germans. So the Germans entirely relying on their fighters, and the Brits mostly relying on their fighters. I'm guessing from the purchase of that Tripolson, they're kind of scared now. And oh, look at that purchase! 5 Achilleses, Achilloi. I do not know Greek. Achilloi. I think Achilloi. So 5 Achilloi tank destroyers. Very strong with that 17-pounder that they have. 16 AP as opposed to the like 11, I think, that the M10s have. Maybe 14. I might be horribly wrong there, but oh well. Haven't played the 2nd infantry. There goes Berkman. So Panther goes down. To what? What killed the Panther? Oh, the Firefly. Okay, no problem. So that's a huge purchase. That's 170 times 5. That's absolutely ridiculous. 850 points into one purchase. He was saving up way too many points. Guys, one big thing that you need to do is not save up too many points, because those were like 850 points that were not participating actively in the combat. And so just imagine if there were 850 points of allied units around earlier. Bomber actually hits the half-tracks. That wasn't, I think, the best usage of a Mosquito. The Mosquito is fairly decently quick for a bomber at, I can't see the speed, damn it. But it's fast enough to outrun that Focke-Wulf 190 with a bit of a head start. Looks like also on the left side, the Fallschirmjägers have renewed their push into the Canadian-held areas of the map. And they're doing pretty well at it. They also have some support from Heil, who has tried to bring in a couple of mechanized troops to support these Pupkins and the Pioneers and all of that. Another Pupkin goes down on the left side, or Pupchen? Yeah, Pupchen. Another Pupchen goes down. Unfortunate, but those units are still fairly cheap, so nothing too major. There goes the Tiger from the Achilles. So the first Achilles doing fairly well. He's a... Oh, there comes the Focke-Wulf 190. That's going to definitely panic these remaining tank destroyers, and I think that's exactly the time the Germans want to push up in, but they've almost lost everything. The Königstiger is still alive on the right side with a Panther A supporting it, so yet more heavy armor coming in. 3 fighters gonna be shooting down that Spitfire quite easily. Very unfortunate for that British pilot. He's gonna be coming home in a bit of a casket, and a Typhoon bomber takes out almost an MG-42. Very luckily for it, the Tripolson manages to force back to 2 Me-109s, but the third Me-109 manages to stay in the fight just enough to destroy that Typhoon. So pretty much all of the British aircraft going down, leaving the sky open to the German forces, and open it is. Here comes 2 Focke-Wulf 90s, gonna be bonging through these rifles. Mine Trap does surrender, and I'm thinking that that's gonna be the end. So absolutely carried, I think, by our third Fallschirmjäger player, Mr. Please Nerf Rockets. Very well on the artillery. Very well done. Using that photo. Using the artillery absolutely kind of gave him a bit of an edge over his opponent, which was exactly enough to push up a little bit more than was required, because his ally was kind of losing ground on the left, because the Panzerlehr is indeed one of those divisions that kind of ramps up in effectiveness. So having the third Fallschirmjäger there to offset with that amazing early game, and especially with that really aggressive play with the infantry-artillery combination, well, it definitely helped out the chances of the Germans. I think the Allies, the main problem was that the Guards armored player was, I think, not aggressive enough on the right side. He could have used the fact that the early game was his against the Panzerlehr a little bit more. He could have brought out more Cromwells more quickly, and then later on tried to fortify up his positions with a few maybe AT guns, definitely a bit of that nice mechanized infantry that the Guards armored have, and then try to help out his ally on the left side with a couple of late game end tier armored units, because that would have been much more effective against the paratroopers. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Do tell me in the comments what you think. I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this very nice Steel Division game. Hope you learned something. And I'll see you soon. Well, look at that Panther L6. And I'll see you soon.